Hi, it's Craig Locicero, and I'm here representing the Omega Wave show, and I'm at Occupation Oakland at the corner of 14th and Broadway, and the date today is the 2nd of November. And I'm here to ask questions. I don't really have any answers. I've got a lot of questions for these people, and mostly having to do with this occupation being all over the map and where these people want to go with it. Because if you look over here, and you're going to see it, and we're going to take you inside of all this, there is basically dozens of organizations hoping to get their cause heard, and there doesn't seem to be any kind of consensus as to what the goal is. And I'm here to ask them what the hell they want to do, how the hell they plan on getting it done. But I can tell you this much, in my opinion, and the one thing I know for a fact, is this is better than sitting on your ass and complaining about the world. All right? So we're going to get some answers, hopefully, and find out some interesting things and see some interesting stuff. And let's go inside. Right now we're at the performance area where people are out here doing their thing for the public, and the attitude right now is actually very positive, and you don't see any kind of anger bubbling to the surface quite yet. The day is still young, and I'm very curious to see where this goes, and we'll check back here later. We are suggested, a pain we inflict always takes. Destroy your fear, defy your pain. Well, if you didn't think it was going to be diverse in Oakland, California, you're fucking crazy. That's one thing we can see right here, is this is very diverse, and everybody's walking together, and these are birds of all different feathers and colors. And I think that's probably one of the coolest things that we can find about this. And you won't see this probably anywhere else in America quite like this, other than the Bay Area and Oakland. It's the melting pot of melting pots around here. And next is to ask some of these people some questions.
I've been here about, I can't separate this from San Francisco. I've been in the tour. I've been here about 12 days.
Okay. And my questions I'm asking everybody here are going to be pretty similar.
Yeah.
And I'm curious as to your feelings about what you think could be accomplished by this without a direct goal, a united goal, and maybe just being a little bit leaderless.
Well, I'm sorry that it's leaderless, and believe that there is wonderful energy here and wonderful people here, but that some of the spirit of the 60s is here. But unfortunately, some of the mistakes of the 60s are also here.
You see that?
And one of those mistakes is the anti-leadership and the kind of anti-intellectualism that goes along with it. It's really a part of the American consciousness that for a long, long time we've thought that democracy meant leveling everyone and claiming that everybody is equal in all respects. What we believe, we should believe, is that human beings are entitled to equal treatment and equal care, but that doesn't mean that some people don't know more than others or don't have better ideas than others.
That's right.
And so that's a mistake here in this community. There ought to be a majority rule. There ought to be democratic process, and it ought to be that people who have good ideas are given the forefront. And without that, you can't get to the next stage that you just mentioned, which is we need a shared worldview. And so that's what I've been passing out. Is we at Tikkun magazine, TIKKUN magazine, we're the voice of spiritual progressives. And so our network of spiritual progressives is calling for a shared vision, and we say it very simply. We want, we should be for, and we are. The network is. We want Occupy Wall Street and Occupy San Francisco and Occupy Oakland to embrace the notion that a simple way of saying what we're for a caring society, caring for each other and caring for the earth. But then, if you want to go beyond that to what does that actually mean, then we're calling for a New Deal to provide jobs for everybody who wants to work, and by raising the tax levels on the rich and the corporate wealth. And we're wanting a global Marshall Plan to end global poverty, homelessness, hunger, inadequate education, and inadequate health care, both in the United States and around the world. And based on the assumption that security, homeland security can best be achieved not through domination and control over other nations, but through generosity and showing other people in the world that we really care about their well-being. And then we're also advocating for a thing we call the Environmental and Social Responsibility Amendment to the Constitution. And that ESRA, which you can find on our website, it's spiritualprogressives.org, spiritualprogressives.org. In that, we call for the elimination of all money in politics. So elections should be publicly funded, and
that sounds great, by the way.
Yeah,
that sounds like a really good idea.
No other money should be used. No private money, no personal money, no corporate money, no other money, and the media should be required to offer free and equal time to all the major candidates, so that our public money doesn't go into the media pockets to pay for their time for candidates. And it also calls for the large corporations to be required to get a new corporate charter once every 5 years, which would only be granted to those corporations that can prove a satisfactory history of environmental and social responsibility to a jury of ordinary citizens. So that way we have democratic control over our corporations. And so these are some of the ideas of what we think is the positive vision, not just what we're against, but what we're for.
But my goal and the goal of the people on the show is to ask questions. And to find you first, and you have such an organized, pointed vision that I think is, if I'm not mistaken, it's of two things. Tolerance being one. You have to be tolerant. Everyone's got to be accepting of one another's differences.
I'm for more than tolerance. I'm for caring. That's a more positive way of saying it, because I don't want to just accept others' differences. I want to recognize the God in every other human being, the sacred of other human beings,
right. Well, that being said, I'm not arguing with you. I'm agreeing with you. But that being said, everyone's not going to share your same, obviously beliefs. So there seems to be, because what I'm seeing out here is it's encouraging and it's somewhat alarming to me, because like you said, there's such a lack of organization, and the 60s was infiltrated by itself and brought itself down, in my opinion. And most of those people in the 60s that, for lack of a better term, had their balls smashed into powder, they lost their fight in the 70s. And now it's nice to see this fight come up again.
Well,
but it's got to get somewhat more organized. And
I agree.
With that tolerance, I'm saying that you, in my opinion, you need to have people trust that there can be a leader that steps out of this, that maybe doesn't have the pedigree of somebody that's been in the public eye forever.
I agree. But and I don't know how to make that happen here.
Nobody knows how to make that happen yet. But
I know that it's needed. So you're right.
It needs to funnel down to that basic ingredient of trusting somebody that's not like you, but maybe wants that change that you. Because Barack Obama wanted change. What does that mean?
He didn't have a strategy.
No, he did. A word. It was a word, and this is where it leads to. But I really, really appreciate your time, and I think that it's going to be hard pressed to find somebody with as organized of thoughts as you have on this.
Just tell people to go to our website, spiritualprogressives.org, or Tikkun, TIKKUN.org. We're an interfaith organization for people who are secular and don't believe in God, as well as people who do believe in God. But we have a vision that could lead this movement if people are willing to embrace it. But I don't even know how to get to speak to people here, because there seems to be whenever you
a little
have
political hierarchy going on, even in this.
Well, that's what always happens. When you say that you don't have any leaders, all that ends up meaning is that the people who are actually providing leadership are not known, and you can't get access to them. There's always a leadership clique that emerges that plays the role of deciding who gets the mic and who doesn't get the mic, and like that. So I think there's a big mistake here.
Politics at every level, ladies and gentlemen. It doesn't matter where you are. Politics always come to play, and even out here on this corner.
But I've never seen so much democratic energy and so much caring energy as I've seen here, not since the 60s and early 70s.
Yeah.
So ladies and gentlemen, come on down. It's terrific. There's something wonderful happening, even though there are strong limitations. Get both parts of that message in.
All right.
Okay?
Thank you very much. Hey, I'm here and I'm talking to Haroon. Is it?
Yes, Haroon.
Haroon, can you step closer to the mic, Haroon? This is going to be loud around here.
Sure.
And Haroon was actually swept up and arrested in one of the first sweep-throughs of this area?
Yeah, I was arrested on Tuesday afternoon at 8th and Washington with the first confrontation with police lines.
Okay. And what happened when you were picked up and taken to... Where did they take you first?
Well, first, when we got to 8th and Washington, we were immediately attacked by batons, but I was swallowed up, and a group of about maybe 5 officers were on top of me. I ended up passing out and going to the hospital and filing a report against the police there, but they also took me to Santa Rita Jail, where I was dragged into a holding cell and beat up by at least 3 or 4 correctional officers.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, I mean...
Well, not so much.
No, obviously, I'm being sarcastic.
I know.
So, obviously, by your estimation, that was a completely unwarranted violent action against you guys.
Absolutely. I mean, if they were trying to do pain compliance or anything like that, why would they go and take my face and put it under the toilet, take my arms and put them inside the toilet? They put a boot on my face and made sure that they said that I would not move or look around until I heard the door of the cell lock.
This is all in Santa Rita?
This is all in Santa Rita.
So they're still doing the same thing they used to do?
Absolutely.
All these years.
This isn't an isolated incident. I witnessed other people getting the same kind of treatment. Those other protesters that were assaulted by correctional officers in Santa Rita.
Do you think the police are intimidated by this movement? Do you think they feel threatened?
Absolutely they are. Now they're all trying to backtrack. We have the mayor blaming the police blaming the mayor. The whole thing's a fucking mess. It's pretty clear over the last years that we've seen that we have an inept and wildly corrupt police department. The reason that Chief Batts is resigning is because he did absolutely nothing to stop or to do and to investigate into the Oakland rioters, a group of police officers based in West Oakland that were planting drugs and guns on people and getting them falsely arrested.
Yeah, well, we can see this coming. All right, well, let me ask you a couple questions I'm asking everybody.
Absolutely.
One of the main things that I'm asking people here is, do you feel that this movement has enough direction to snowball into something possibly more focused and organized without any visual leaders?
Absolutely. We are non-hierarchical and we work at a horizontal level. As far as what's going on here and the lack of direction, I think it has a lot of direction. When we're talking about economic injustice, we need to talk about war. I mean, that's the largest part of our economy is going placed into the military. We're having school closures, we're having library closures here in this city, but they tend to always find money for rich folks. There always is. We have a bus line that's only catering towards rich people to get them back and forth from work to the BART stations to avoid having to come across homeless people that are, they're everywhere around here, and they're not focusing on that. They could have put the money towards that, and they didn't. What we've done here is we've fed 5,000 people a day right in front of City Hall, and we're doing this all for free.
Yeah. Well, that's fantastic. But I mean, what I'm trying to get to, and it's what I'm very curious, what I hope to learn from this, and I hope to gain from this, I'm not impartial. I definitely lean towards the movement in general, and it is, I would have to say it's encouraging, but it seems a little, for lack of a better word, eclectic, and like it needs some sort of priorities. What's the first thing that needs to be done in your mind? What's the very first thing? Is it on the local level? Is it government locally, or is it something as big as bringing down the Federal Reserve, which seems to me that one of the most valid points and things that needs to happen is actually take away the power of the Fed.
Absolutely. There's a lot of people who are focused on that. Right now, we have some pretty specific problems that we deal with here in Oakland, like police brutality, school closures, library closures, all of these things. But this is also much of a broader situation that is a national problem. And that's in the next 10 years, we're facing $2.5 trillion in austerity. That means our social services are going to be wiped out. Well, that means food stamps, that means education tuition's going up, that means, at every level, people are not going to be able to depend on Social Security anymore, or any social services, when they're basically at war against the poor for a long time now. And it's about time that we finally woke up to that idea that we already are at war. The rich are at war with the poor for a long time now, and it's now that people are realizing that and are standing up about it.
Well, I think that's great. Well, not great, but I think it's great that you're fighting, and it's awesome. Now, do you believe that there should be some leaders that step out of this that become more visible?
The thing is, we are all leaders here. It just depends on what people want to do, how much people want to engage, and what their level of commitment is. Anybody is welcome to come in here and join any one of the committees, which there are many. We have breakout groups in every area. We have people of color breakout groups. We have a Muslim group that broke out from the POC group. We have people that are working on facilitating the meetings. We have people that are working in security, both external and internal safekeeping. We have people working on every little area, as well as actions and events. This is really broad. So we have so many issues that the main concern is economic injustice. But we can't talk about the economics of this country without talking about race, without talking about war. All these things. That's why it seems so broad, because it is.
I'm standing here with Rick, and he is a carpenter and he's a member of the union. And how you doing today, Rick?
Very good. Happy to be here.
You feel happy to be here? You feel like this is a pretty encouraging movement?
Oh yeah, I'm really happy to see this movement growing, getting stronger, and really taking back the streets. Okay, the streets are occupied, the banks are being closed down. I couldn't imagine a better thing right now.
Now, that being said, how do you think this is all going to, the end game, roll your way? How do you think it's going to affect you? What do you hope to have accomplished from this yourself?
Well, I hope to see working people get a chance, okay, I have a saying that I've been saying, okay, we're here for affordable education, good paying jobs, respect, and our share of the wealth, and we're not leaving till we get it. Okay, and that's what I want. I want the people to get what they deserve in return for their toil.
Very positive. I like that. Now, how do you feel about this movement having more of a loose-knit organization, kind of a leaderless?
It's the best thing in the world because it's the power of the people. Okay, there's no leader for the other forces to focus on and to say, okay, we need to negotiate, lay your demands on the table. So many things get co-opted and diluted and watered down and washed away that way. We don't need that. We're here because things are way screwed up and we're not leaving until it's fixed.
So basically, the way that you see it is you think that this is throwing the wrench into the gears of the machine to slow this thing down to be heard.
That's
to actually
right.
make some sort of headway.
That's right. Unless these people who own everything feel something in their pocketbook, they're not going to pay any attention, okay? Power never concedes without a demand and action. Okay, there has to be action, and this is action. It's going to take something out of their pocket. Bank of America already yesterday conceded, okay, we're going to back off on our $5 charge for using your ATM card every month. Okay, well they should. Enough people took the money out of the bank. That was direct action. They got the message. Okay, there needs to be more messages, and those guys need to stand back even farther because they've been taking way too much from us for way too long.
Do you think eventually there's going to have to be somebody that comes in to negotiate and represent this 99%?
It shouldn't be somebody though. It should be a committee.
Somebody's?
It should be a committee. A committee of people from across the country who represent diverse populations in the different parts of the country to sit down with those forces that are going to be able to negotiate. They have some power that can make a change. Not just a bunch of corporate blatherbags that are going to blow hot air, make hollow promises, and then walk away thinking, okay, good, we got them to back down for now.
Because I mean, that would entail that those forces, the real,
we need
the
legislation
behind the curtain need to make themselves visible to even get to that point.
Right.
I mean, there's a laundry list, if not just a massive amount of things that need to happen.
Well, one thing is we need to fix what happens at the ballot box. Electronic voting is where our votes get stolen.
No disagreement there.
Yeah. Okay. So we got to get rid of electronic voting. We need paper ballots. The public needs to be there for the count and make sure the tallies are reconciled. That the count is the real count. We need transparency in elections. We need to run real candidates who come from the people who are going to represent the people, not the corporations. Okay. And we need to have this Citizens United. That's got to go away. Okay. Because that's exactly how they buy their representatives in Congress. We need to stop.
Okay, I'm sitting here with Mary, who is a retired teacher that actually works with the Oakland Education Association. And I wanted to ask her some questions about this, so I figured she would have an educated point of view. Hi, Mary, how are you doing today?
Very good, and I am so excited. This is amazing. I mean, people are here because they are very, very serious, and yet it's so much fun. There is a carnival atmosphere wedded with a real determination to make change. So I am just great.
Now, you're probably very, very young, but the first time this happened in the 60s, you were around for this.
I was.
Right. And how much hope did you have back then versus what you have now as to actually being able to make any kind of significant changes in the way that the power structure works right now?
That is such a key question. And indeed, my husband, whom I married in the 60s, was African American. And we both believed, and we have an amazing daughter, we both believed that, we were on the cusp of profound change. I have always retained that hope. I'm very much a social activist. I'm not going to go through my list of stuff that I do and participate in, except I will say I'm co-chair of the California Teachers Association Peace and Justice Caucus. But I've always kept in my heart and my belief system that we can make change. And as an educator, you really can do that. It's going to, the process of going from this really exciting kind of demonstration event commitment to more organized change is, that's going to be really, that's
key. Yeah. But my question is, how long and how much significance do you think this is going to have and make an impact down the road if there isn't some sort of visible leadership sooner than later? And I understand, obviously we all understand the idea of keeping the leaders out of the center of this thing and trying to just do it as, individuals, as a collective. But do you feel that at some point there's going to need to be some sort of leadership, and how do you think that would, what method do you think would work to make that happen?
Okay, I completely agree with what you said, because over time I've really learned how to organize and to develop structure to make sure that things happen. Mm-hmm. And here, the mood is still very much, we're all citizens, we're all making the decision. But there is, I feel that there is a need at some point to start developing more structure. It can be, there doesn't need to be a top person. It can be a group of people who are part of a steering committee. People who
A committee. I've heard committee a few times. I think that's probably going to end up being what it is at first.
And with people cycling in and out, not somebody, oh, that's my thing now. But with people cycling in and out, with new people stepping in, with young people especially stepping in. And but beyond that, how to make it happen, I'm not sure, except that as a member of the labor community, we really are participating, and we're putting forward our organization, our ways of organizing, so that the larger group can see the kinds of things that we're doing. And
Lead by example.
Yeah.
I'm cynical, not of this in general, but of the idea that the chaos. There's so many people fighting for so many things, and which is great, but I believe there has to be, to get a result, some sort of prioritizing, and that'll be an argument in itself. And everyone acts like they've got an infinite amount of time to slowly figure this thing out. And in my opinion, we need to funnel this down to its common denominator and tolerance for one another, and not the differences. And just, we got to take it to the next level. As far as my first thing would be, wouldn't you want to dispose of the Federal Reserve first? The one thing that puts us in this almost slavery state financially, as a country, as a people, as a world. If you were to funnel it and prioritize, would you put that near the top of it, or does this end war as more of a an ambiguous kind of thought, like which war? All wars, okay, but that's a lot of that's about money and oil. So it's a very complex problem, and I'm just curious to see, do you have a feeling like that this can get weeded down to that essential thing?
It hasn't at all yet.
No.
And
I feel that.
The question is, keeping people, once you start breaking it into pieces. The left is very good at splitting off and not working together. However,
being very self-righteous.
Yeah. However, you are just so right, and I can't say it any better than you have, that there is a need to develop a structure and to develop some goals.
The guys from Contrast to Water, and they're out here from South Africa, and they've been brought out here with the Afar movement, and we talked about that on the show before. And first of all, introduce yourselves.
I'm Alan Brink, the guitar player. Speak up. I'm Alan Brink, the guitar player.
Alan.
The Barry vocals.
Barry. Okay, guys. Well, I'm going to ask you what I've been asking everybody else out here, but you guys have a different point of view, and I'm really curious as to how you view this thing. Let's just start with that. How do you view this, Barry?
Well, from our side, it looks very positive. At least you got everybody's involved, and it looks like at least you got a voice. You got a chance to stand here and protest. You're right outside your administration buildings, and you're protesting. And just so far, what we've seen here, we know there's been outbreaks before, but it's been relatively peaceful. And personally, from us, we just hope it does get to the change you guys want. Support and that. It looks like there's support, and the speakers we've been hearing have all been saying really true things and positive things, so we hope that it gets you what you guys are looking for.
Yeah, they're saying all the right things, at least on the surface. And what do you think?
I just enjoy the fact that it's brought together like a whole pile of people from different backgrounds, different cultures, different religions, and everyone here is standing together as one for a common interest that affects everyone here. And I think that kind of message transcends everything else, every other bullshit that happens. But what's really cool is just the total unity from people from different walks of life, people from different religion. It's amazing, dude. This big unity here. This is a good thing.
Well, you know what the common interest is. The common theme of this, if you could boil it down, is everyone's pissed off. Other than that, every square inch you got somebody who thinks that something should be prioritized one way or another. Things should be, end the war. Stop fucking, the one percenters. Bring down the banks. End capitalism. So there's a multitude of things. So in your dealings, when people did uprisings in your country, did you ever see a more invisible, leaderless group kind of pull something together like this?
In our country, particularly during the struggle against apartheid, there was Nelson Mandela, who was kind of the spotlight behind it all. They tended to have a much tighter leader group than what we're seeing here.
Much more gets accomplished that way at the end of the day.
Definitely, and the protests that were in a way more organised, but there was also a lot of aggression involved in it because of the apartheid system. But to me personally, just this way of dealing with it peacefully, and that people are dialoguing about it, in a way seems a bit better than a tight group with a more vicious intent kind of thing. But like I said, we just hope this is going to work for you people and get you what you want.
Yeah, I think you're right. At the surface of it, the way it looks is peace and love, and almost like you're saying, like Burning Man, or it's like there's people trying to get meet chicks. And, there's nothing wrong with all that, because that's going to happen. But yeah, in my opinion, and I came down here to form an opinion myself. I didn't come in here with a direct idea that this was a joke or this is the greatest thing. And my suspicions have been reaffirmed that I think that at the end of the day, you're still going to need somebody that these people can look to, even if they don't agree with all their philosophies and all their religious ideology or whatever it may be. Somebody's going to need to step out and become a leader for this, for the melting pot. That is, we're sitting here. You're right. We're sitting here right in front of the building of the city of Oakland's building here. It's very hopeful, but it's going to get dirty before it gets clean.
Well, that's
in my opinion. I hope I'm wrong, but there's going to be a lot more mess to come. But I was thank you for your guys' time. I was just curious to see how you see it. And it looks like, must look like somewhat of not a joke, but just like small potatoes, compared to what you guys had to deal with out there.
Kind of carnivally, But at least we just love the fact that there's no violence, other than what the police got up to the other day.
You guys probably didn't have a guy with a tuba walking down the street. Catch the tuba back there. Yeah, that's the kind of party this is. You're not gonna. That's Chris Contos. And okay, well, that's it for right now, and we'll get hit a couple more things and get out of here. But I think we've got a good idea of the way people are starting to feel about this, and that's what I was hoping to accomplish here today. All right, this is Craig for the Omega Wave Show, and I'm here with
Winston Burton from Boss.
Winston Burton
from an organization called Boss. We're the largest provider of services to the homeless in Alameda County.
Perfect. That's exactly what. Okay, what's your name?
Calvin.
And you're just here representing yourself?
Yes.
Okay, good. Fine. All right, guys. Let me ask you. How do you feel about this in general? That's the most ambiguous question I'm going to ask you, the most vague question. How do you feel about this? What's your overwhelming feelings?
My visceral feelings?
Your visceral feelings.
For years I've been saying that Never a hoe, but a Hoover. For years I've been saying that people need to take it to the streets so we can't just sit around and seeing all this negative stuff coming from the Republicans and the people that are poor getting poorer. They're making homeless people homeless. How do you do that? That's really hard to do. You make people with no money have less money. That's really hard to do, but they've been doing it. So I said we need to take it to the streets eventually. I was waiting for that part. And so people came out to the streets. I said I got to join them. I got to come out and see what's happening in the street, you know? So that's why I'm out here today, to be supportive of other people that understand that we can't let this stuff go on like it's been going.
There you go.
And I think this is wonderful. I think for the last 10, 15 years, Wall Street and all corporations have been taking, and not giving back nothing. They've been causing the problems to our democracy, causing the problems to the capitalistic system. They're representative of the need for change. I think they've been sucking us dry just for themselves. And no corporation that I know about are being helpful, and particularly the banks. I mean, the banks is involved with every transaction in America, and they do nothing but take. And we all feel it. I think that's why we're all here, because it impacts us all every day. And they say no to everything. You go to the bank and ask for a loan, no. You go to the bank and they charge fees for just asking a question. You go to the bank and get a transaction card, they charge a fee for keeping your money with them. So I think this is great, and I think they're the source.
Okay, so you guys are here to bring down the greed machine. You guys are here to be a part of that, because everyone's got a different point of view. There's so many different factions and great ideas and people for different causes, which all are fantastic. You know, stopping war, you know, stopping greed, obviously poverty, end poverty, end sickness. But it seems to me like you guys are looking at the banks as being the main focus.
Oh, no, I'm not looking at the banks being the main focus. I'm looking at somebody.
What's your main focus?
I'm focused that somebody got to turn off the faucet. Somebody got to turn off the goddamn faucet. Every year I serve 3,000 people who are poor, broken, hungry.
Yep.
Then the next year there's 3,000 more, 3,000 new people. I'm reminded of a bathtub that's filled up with water. And you're trying to scoop out the water, and you're turning around and you look, you still got the faucet running. And we got a faucet running, that faucet's in D.C., it's in Sacramento. We're making people poor. So if we're going to make people poor, you can't just keep scooping out the water, you got to stop making people poor. So that's one of the reasons I'm out here, to emphasize that. But one of the ways we stop that is we should take off from work and go register to vote. Everybody needs to take somebody, 2 people under each arm and register them. Because if we don't vote, it ain't gonna work.
Yeah, the drive for voting has definitely been well, because the elections have not really been working as recent history. You know, I mean, you know, people, you know, just the president ago, somebody who was put in office that didn't actually win the election.
Right, but I'm saying
that's the president of the United States. That's a pretty big deal. That's discouraging. So you got a lot of jaded people.
But my point on voting is that you got to vote not every 4 years. You vote every day. Every day of your life, you're voting on how you treat people, how you treat each other, not robbing, not taking, but being supportive and helping people that got less than you. I mean, the best society is judged by how we help and treat the neediest. So you need to vote every 4 years, of course, but vote every day, please.
So you're saying don't be passive, be active.
Definitely.
In life and the way you treat individuals, which I fully condone. All right, let me ask you guys one last question. How do you feel about this movement? As far as it being without any visible leaders, does that have any sway in your opinion? Do you think it's going to last forever like that, or do you think someone's going to need to bubble up from the bottom of this thing and show themselves and be a voice that everyone that has their different points of view can at least look to and say, okay, aside from our belief, our core values, that at least we can find somebody that we trust to take this all the way to the top. Do you think that's going to happen?
Well, I think that, years ago I marched with Martin Luther King. I also went to the mosque. I also went to the mosque and saw Malcolm X speak. Each movement was different. Each movement was unique, and they had a different style. But in both of those, even though they say Martin Luther King, there was multiple leaders. Sometimes he wasn't around. We had to be self-sufficient and lead and support each other. So not having one unique leader is critical, but I think if we stay on focus about the need of each other and being supportive and not doing any dumb stuff to each other, I think that we can, for a while, move forward, but we need to focus on stuff. And one of the things I said each of these occupied groups should focus on is registering the people to vote. That's what I think.
I like it. And do you have any last words on that? Any thoughts?
I have a different take than that. I don't think we need leaders per se. I think ultimately you need people who can organize, but we need change. The local politicians, the national politicians, they all belong and bought and paid for by the corporations. So even if you vote them in, you're still voting for the corporations, or you have no say-so through them because they're tagged with the wrong people. They're not giving back. They're not supporting the majority. This is representative of the majority, the 99%. The people who need systems to work for them, not systems that export our jobs across the pond, not systems that are for greed and wealth, but we need systems that serve the people so everybody can be profitable or have prosperity. Profitability is not the question here. It's about having access, having quality of life, and that's not happening for us. So I think this is an example of the need for change of the way we do business in our country, in politics, and in how we look out for one another. We all have to look out for one another, and that starts with where we pay our taxes.
Well, most human beings don't realize how interconnected we all are to one another. We all need each other way more. The separation is an illusion, and people are going to really start feeling that. In my opinion, and I only have an opinion about this, you got to start with the Federal Reserve and tear that whole system apart of the way things are done to have the trickle-down effect of everything else work. And it's got to happen sooner than later, and it ain't going to be pretty. It's not going to be pretty. But you know what? I have a lot of hope when I see great thinkers like you guys. It reminds me that there is hope. And thank you very much. I appreciate your time. I really appreciate that, okay? Hey, thank you very much.
All right, my brothers. What's your name?
I appreciate your time. My name's Craig.
Craig?
It's the Omega Wave Show. You can find it, Omega Wave Show. You can find it on YouTube.
Okay,
look it up, and this will be up in about a week.
All right, cool. Whatever.
Thanks so much.
Support the stuff.
Thank you so much.
Hope I didn't use profanity.
I think that's going to about do it for today, man. I don't really see. I think we managed to hit on 5 really poignant points of view. Different. You're going to find more radical, but maybe we found some of the best thinkers walking around this place. And you can't have it. The thing I've learned is you can't have it all your way. Nobody's going to have it all their way, and we got to at least come to some common understanding here that everybody's pissed off, everybody wants a change, and they're willing to make the sacrifices to do it. But there's got to be some sort of organization from the bottom to the top to the top to the bottom. So that's it for this week's Omega Wave Show, and I'll see you guys soon.